Hey everyone, today we're diving into a really fascinating new idea that could totally change how we think about quality in childcare. It's called the Childcare Heart Monitor, and believe me, it's all about getting a much clearer picture of what's really going on in our early education classrooms.
But before we get into the tech, let's just pause for a second. When you hear high-quality childcare, what's the first thing you think of? Is it about the strict safety rules and having small class sizes? Or is it more about that feeling? You know, the warm, vibrant interactions between the teachers and the kids? For decades, we've tried to measure both, but we've always used separate tools, which gives us a pretty disconnected view.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with what we're calling the quality conundrum. Then we'll unpack this idea of structure versus the heart. After that, we'll introduce the heart monitor itself, see how it calculates something called the contact hour, and then look at how it actually measures all those interactions before wrapping up with a peek into its AI-powered future.
Okay, so let's get into it. The core problem, this big conundrum, is that how we assess childcare has always had this kind of split personality. We've been measuring two very different things in two very different ways, and that's made it almost impossible to see the full, complete picture of a center's quality.
Think of it this way. It's like trying to understand someone's health. You could just look at their lab results, or you could just ask them how they feel. But to really know what's going on, you need both, right? Well, in childcare, by using separate tools for these separate categories, we've been missing the critical link between the rules on paper and the actual day-to-day experience of the kids.
So let's really break down these two categories. On one side, you've got structure, which is all about the what. And on the other side, you've got the heart, and that's all about the how.
Structural quality? That's the stuff that's pretty easy to measure. It's the rules, staff-to-child ratios, group size, all the health and safety regulations. Process quality, though, is a lot harder to pin down, but it's arguably where the real good stuff happens. This is the human element, the conversations, the interactions. The source material even calls it the dance between an adult and a child. It's where the magic of learning really comes to life.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Look, the structural rules are absolutely vital for keeping kids safe, of course. But the process, that human interaction, that's where curiosity and a true love of learning really take root. It is the absolute heart of quality.
So the million-dollar question is, how do you measure something as intangible as the heart, and then combine it with the hard data from the structure? Well, that's exactly where this innovative new tool comes into play, aiming to finally unify that disconnected view.
It's called the Childcare and Early Education Heart Monitor, or CCEEHM for short. And the name is perfect. Just like a medical heart monitor gives doctors a continuous, live feed of a patient's health, this tool is designed to do the same for a childcare center, providing one integrated assessment of both its structure and its process all in one place.
And the real genius here is its simplicity. It takes these two really powerful metrics and bakes them into one simple app. This makes the whole assessment process way more efficient and affordable, but most importantly, for the very first time, it gives us a single holistic score that represents the total quality of a center.
So let's pop the hood and see how this thing works, starting with the structural side of things. Instead of someone just doing a random spot check on ratios, the CCEHM uses a much smarter metric called the contact hour.
So how does it do it? Well, it's actually incredibly straightforward. The app just asks 6 simple questions about when staff and children arrive and leave for the day. From just that little bit of data, it calculates the contact hour metric and builds a visual model of the day's flow. And that model instantly tells you if the center is staying compliant with its ratios and group sizes throughout the entire day, not just for a few minutes.
And you don't need to be a math genius to get it. The app literally shows you a shape. A super efficient day might look like a neat rectangle. A non-compliant day, where maybe they're understaffed or over-enrolled for a period, well, that shape will bulge outwards. You can see the problem at a glance.
Okay, so that handles the structure, the skeleton of quality. But what about the soul? The second part of this system is all about measuring those interactions and truly capturing that heart of quality we keep talking about.
To do this, the system uses a set of what are called Program Quality Indicators, or PQIs. And as you can see, these look at everything from staff training and the classroom environment to how they communicate with families, and most importantly, the warmth and quality of those staff-child interactions. You know, are they using language that helps kids develop reasoning skills, that kind of stuff.
Now, this PQI score doesn't just float out there on its own. It's layered directly on top of the structural data from the contact hour. It adds this rich, qualitative dimension, basically turning a black and white compliance check into a full color picture of what it actually feels like to be a child in that room. And now for the final piece of this puzzle. You might be thinking, how can you possibly measure all those little interactions consistently, objectively, all day long? Well, the answer is technology.
Here's the idea. The system uses video feeds from the classroom, and an artificial intelligence does the observing. This AI is trained to recognize and score those program quality indicators we just talked about, providing this constant stream of data that builds that dynamic quality score. Just think about the scale of this for a moment. A human observer can only see so much. An AI, on the other hand, can make thousands and thousands of observations all day long. It's exactly the kind of task this technology is built for, providing a constant and incredibly reliable stream of data.
And this has two massive benefits. First, it takes quality measurement from being a one-time snapshot and turns it into a live, ongoing feed. And second, because the AI is just working off its programming, it helps reduce the natural human biases that can sometimes creep in, which leads to a much more objective and fair assessment.
So all of this leaves us with one final big thought. For years, we've measured the rules and the regulations, but we've always struggled to consistently measure the magic. If a tool like this heart monitor can give us a true ongoing measurement of the real heartbeat of a childcare program, the interactions, the warmth, the learning, how could that completely transform the future of early education for kids, for parents, and for educators everywhere?